All right, so hey, it's Matt Stirling here from mattsterlingfitness.com, and I am pleased to be with Wade Lightheart here today of Bioptimizers. Hey, how's it going, Wade?
Doing great, man.
Very, very good. So listen, for those of you who are listening and watching this right now, Wade is he's the guy that you need to be listening to when it comes to protein, because when it comes down to digestion, absorption, and utilization of protein, this guy really knows what he's talking about. So Wade, yeah, we were just talking a few minutes ago, and anyways, I'm excited here to get some information from you, for my viewers, and to keep learning myself. So why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about yourself and who you are and how you can help us today?
Sure. So great to be here, and thanks for everyone. And of course, this is such a big conversation in exercise, weight training, bodybuilding, muscle building, strength training. All this sort of stuff is about protein, 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 protein. And I was really down that, as a former competitor, Mr. Universe competitor, and all that sort of stuff. And it was kind of weird. It was kind of strange for me because I went down that road, and eventually, because of some digestive issues and stuff, I switched to vegetarianism, and I'm one of the few guys that compete at the Mr. Universe and the Natural Olympia as a vegetarian. But before that, what people don't know is I was doing this traditional bodybuilding diets, the high 1 gram per pound of body weight, all that sort of stuff, and dieting down. And after the Universe in 2003, I had a total physical meltdown. My body blew up. I gained 42 pounds in 11 weeks. My digestion I was bloating. I was gassy. It was a digestive disaster. And I was like, how can I be at the prime of my life? I have all this muscle. I'm super lean and everything. And then all of a sudden I went from Mr. Universe to Mr. Marshmallow, and I felt like crap. And we were talking about that a little bit. Maybe you want to share your background. But the bottom line was, I tried to get, how do I get help? And, I found a doctor. His name was Dr. O'Brien. He started teaching me. He says, Wade, if you learned how to build the body from the outside in, but not the inside out, and you've messed up your digestion, you've blown out your proteolytic enzymes in your digestive tract, you've blown out your digestive enzymes for your carbs and your fats, you've thrown off your microbiome. At the time I said, what, a micro what? He's like, yeah, they're bacteria cultures. And he says, you got to get this figured out. And I said, well, what do I need to do? And he says, you need to take these enzymes and probiotics and rebuild yourself. And I said, okay, I did it. And it took me about 3 months to completely rebuild myself, and then 6 months I had regained my physicality. And then, later on, at that point, I'd switched to a vegetarian diet and, that sort of stuff. And from there, I couldn't get enough protein. That was the problem with that. And as everyone's fear on that, so how do I get enough protein to sit? And then what I did is I went out and I developed a specific enzyme that was for muscle building. In other words, it was a series of 5-stage proteases that would allow me to absorb and utilize all of the protein that I was getting, because we eat all this protein, and what happens, it can become undigested protein. So we assume that if we have 200 grams of protein, that we're digesting and assimilating and using 200 grams of protein. But what I found back in the day was, I had this whole pile of mucoid plaque in my body. And when I went through that cleaning phase after the 42 pounds fat and water gain, I was on a 10-day fast, and I was crapping 10 days. At day 10, I was on a water fast. It was just like, it looked like old rubber tires and stuff coming at me, which was just like old whey protein shakes from 1985 or something. Anyways, it's kind of graphic, but it's true. And I didn't realize at the time, I was a young, strong guy, and I thought I had the world by the tail and everything. And I never thought that something like that could happen to me, because I looked the part, but I didn't realize there was a disaster going on inside my body. And I had to figure it out. And thank God I met Dr. O'Brien. And then thank God we went on and developed these proteolytic enzymes and proteolytic probiotics and started using this. And then my business partner and I started sharing this with bodybuilders around the world through our old bodybuilding site. And we found all these other guys that had digestive issues. And they started, using it and correcting, and we started tweaking the product and the formulation. And then by 2007, it was all over the world, and it's just changed a lot of people's lives, and I'm really grateful for it because there's so many people that are suffering from digestive issues.
Yeah, no, it's so true. I mean, well, for one, that's an amazing story. And it's something I can relate to as well, you know, with as a bodybuilder, as a former world champion. And I was just telling you the story a few minutes ago. And, you know, we were talking about how things simply change too, right? As we're getting older. So, I mean, this is not just for bodybuilders. And I think that's the thing that's important for people to realize is that your body does change. You know, the way we assimilate things, the way we utilize things, or as time goes on and as what, depends what our past was like and what we put in our bodies as far as other foods and contaminants and things like that. But it does affect your body. And my bodybuilding experience was very, very similar to yours. So I took a lot longer to recover from it. So there was no mass times then, but I did, I experienced something similar. I was, getting ready for my competition, the WBFF Pro World Bodybuilding Championships. And I did win, but my body was going through a whole lot of things leading up to that show with digestion. And it was right after the competition when I started, to go back to what I thought was, perhaps a normal diet and putting these, normal foods back in my body, just carbohydrates and stuff like that. And I started experiencing a lot of, digestive disorders. And same thing, I had to see a doctor, and they didn't really have all the answers for me at first. And like I said, you said that it was a good 3 months or so, like you started, getting some of that back, right?
Yeah, it took me 3 months to make the recovery but I was using massive amounts of enzymes and probiotics to do that. And I was on a very aggressive program.
Yeah. And I was going by process of elimination. Right. So I was eliminating certain things and seeing, was it the coffee? Was it just the excess protein? Probably didn't help it, by having lots of protein and creating an acidic environment. It would have been nice to be able to eat less protein and get more out of it. I could tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So same kind of thing. So I've experienced something very similar to yourself. Luckily I did come out of that. I had to get on a bunch of enzymes and probiotics and things like that as well. And then when I met my lovely wife, she also decided to detox me, and and we did some detoxing type diets, and she got me, oh my gosh, I went through this 21 days of raw vegan, and you said that you went on the whatever this diet was where you're crapping multiple times a day. Well, let me tell you, I remember 11 times in the first 24 hours I went, and I was like, how is this even possible, And she's like, well, she didn't really care for that because she's, lucky if she goes once in a day. I think a lot of females actually have that. And that's a whole other issue we could talk about. We probably don't have time for that today, but a lot of females have digestive issues too,
Absolutely. A lot of psychological stuff that goes with it where they don't want it. They hold it in and they create different problems for themselves. And then, they get into a lot of, probably a little over half our clients are women. Yeah. Women are more likely to admit they have a problem. That's the difference between men and women.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that's the thing. I mean, so what can we tell, our viewers here today? I mean, as far as like, because there's these myths out there too, like we said, about how much protein you should be getting and how much can you actually absorb and how is something like this actually helping at the, enzymatic level and stuff?
Yeah. And, there's a couple things out there. And again, this is one of the reasons why people don't early discover it on, because when you start out in kind of exercise or fitness or whatever the health program, or when you're young, even if you're not doing that, generally digestion works pretty good for most people. And so what people start to notice as you age and you get older, they go, wait a second, things aren't breaking down the same, or I don't feel the same, or now I feel bloated on these shakes, or what's going on? Maybe I need to change the shake, or maybe I need to change that. And what you're getting is a little indication that what you eat doesn't necessarily go into the muscle tissue or go where it needs to go. And that's the biggest myth. We think that if it goes in my mouth, it gets delivered. And there is a process of chewing and mastication, and then hydrochloric acid comes in, and then enzymes start breaking down the various foods, particularly protein into amino acids. Our body uses amino acids, not protein, and that's a big distinction. And to convert them, you need hydrochloric acid and you need enzymes, and there's a whole process that happens with. And then it goes into the digestive canal, into the intestinal tract, and then probiotics will finish the job off and carry. And different amino acids will cleave at different stages in the digestive process. And for the most part, what happens, there's 5 key amino acids that get broken down in the upper cardiac portion of the stomach when it switches into the lower part. You get HCl comes in, and then it gets buffered as it goes into the intestinal tract, and then the probiotics start working on it and finish the job off. And that goes for, and protein, by the way, takes more time to digest than just about everything. So there's fats and there's carbohydrates and there's proteins. And so what happens is everything that's been cooked, everything that's been processed has no enzymes. So enzymes, for people who don't know, are the little things that convert stuff and accelerate metabolic issues. There's like 25,000 different functions of enzymes. Everything from thinking to blinking requires an enzymatic transfer. And every animal on the planet eats their food in a raw state. And so, for example, if I'm a tiger and I take out a zebra, I eat the zebra and I get the zebra's enzymes with the food. And we have an enzyme in meat, for example, that's cathispin, that as soon as an animal dies, it starts to break, it becomes activated and breaks down. So the second that eats it, and of course, if you look at the animals, they eat the entrails first before they eat the rest, because that's where the highest concentration of enzymes actually are in an animal.
Interesting.
And yeah, it's very, very interesting. They get the enzymes first and then they consume the food. Same thing if you're a horse. A horse eats, grass, let's say, but the grass is live and has its own enzymes, and that breaks it down. Now, humans are the only species that cooks its food. And when you heat anything over 114 degrees, what happens is you destroy the enzymes. Now, what every medical doctor will tell you is, well, that's true, but your body makes enzymes. That's absolutely correct. However, where does the enzymes come from? We convert protein into enzymes in the liver to make digestive enzymes, and those digestive enzymes break down the food. So when you started out, most people say you start building muscle, maybe your diet has 100 grams of protein in it, and you go, okay, well, I feel pretty good, but I want to get bigger, so I increase my protein to 150 grams, right? I'm a 140-pound guy at the time, let's say. I start lifting, and I notice I start growing a little bit more, whatever. Well, maybe I can go to 200 because I want to be 200 pounds, right? So, the rationale, and when you first start this up, you get this experience of, hey, this is working. But what you don't know is you don't know what % you actually need.
Which is so key. Yeah.
Right? It's just an assumption. So maybe you're only getting 100 grams, and 150 is being wasted in conversion or digestion, and you're crapping it out or whatever is going on. And that's okay for a few years, or 2 years, or 3 years, or 4 years apart. But there's a slow buildup of this, and then you start to know I need to do different proteins, and I need to switch my diet, and you start to get these little indications that something's not right. But then you just say, oh, it's the food, it's the food, it's the food. But really, it's the system.
Yeah. And
that's, once you get your head wrapped around that, and you change it. To give you an example, I used to do 250 grams of protein a day as a 200-pound bodybuilder, 5'8". When I switched over, when I did this whole enzymatic thing, I went to the Natural Olympia competing on 85 grams of protein a day. And most people go, how's that even possible?
That's insane.
and people say, well, where do you get your protein? And I said, it's not a question of that. It's how much protein am I getting out of what I'm eating is the real question. And of course, that varies between people, and it's a lot of reason why a lot of people struggle to gain weight. We all come into this world with different digestive capacities, just like we have different heights or different natural genetics or whatever happens to be. Same thing with digestive capacity. And now we're getting into second, third generation of processed foods, of a lot of cooked foods, a lot of chemical agents, and all of these put digestive distress on our body and enzymatic stress on the body. And because of those things, we've got to find digestive solutions. And so now you go into Whole Foods or you go into your store and you see a rack of digestive enzymes and probiotics, or if you go to the pharmacy, there's all these digestive aids. And if you watch the NFL football, there's like every other commercial is for some kind of stomach acid or some digestive aid or whatever. Like 85% of the population has unreported digestive issues. 25% are on prescription medications, which actually make the digestive conditions worse. It just masks the symptoms. And we have a solution. We have a way that can naturally accelerate and augment people's digestive systems that allows them to rebuild their digestive system to what it should be and get the most out of their food and their nutrition programs.
Yeah, which is fantastic. I mean, you've unpacked a lot of information here, really, already. And I think a lot of people can relate. Like, I know that, you know, as a younger bodybuilder, when I started cranking in all the protein, you know, man, I stunk.
Yeah, go into any gym changing room.
Like, come on, you know, and honestly, even in the last, I'm going to tell you straight up, in the last 12 to 18 months, my wife is like, she's Spanish. She's like, Papa, you gotta stop taking that whey protein. She's like, you just don't digest it no more, you know? And it's so easy to say, well, maybe I should switch to this, or maybe I should switch to that. It should just be a pure isolate, right? But she's like, you're not digesting it. You know?
Which is you keyed on something that's a really good indicator. If people are having, you know, really smelly gas or really smelly bathroom breaks,
yeah,
people have to realize what causes that. What causes that is undigested protein inside your intestinal tract. What happens is it now becomes food for bad bacteria. And these bad bacteria consume that and create the gas, create those things. And that's the smell that we're picking up. And people are going, OMG, really? Like people don't know that it wasn't you that created the smell. It was the bacteria that were feeding on this food because it was lying around. And as people correct that, they start to notice changes in, you know, not only the frequency of what they use, they also notice changes in the smell of their, you know, if they're going to the things are really smelling bad, you know, you need help. Or body odor can change significantly. You produce less ammonia inside the body. Ammonia is a protein conversion. And so all of these things, skin starts to change. A lot of people wake up with brain fog or that foggy feeling in the morning. That starts to go away. That's the bacteria pooping in the blood, if they will, and then that creates that brain fog in the morning. The other thing, people are suffering from depression is because they can't convert certain amino acids into the happy hormones inside their brain. So people start noticing, hey, I start using this, my brain feels better. I have better focus in my mind. I'm happier more of the time. My digestion, digestion is the start of it, but then all these corollary benefits start to happen as you continue on the process and get your digestion to that ultimate level.
Yeah, so that's just it, right? So there's more to it than just being able to build more muscle, right? I mean, that's obviously huge, for all of us guys that want to be able to sustain it, maintain it, gain it, whatever it is. But then even beyond that, all these things are happening in your body because of, age and everything else, right? So I think, if we can curve that. I'm in my mid 40s now. I'm long past my competitive bodybuilding days or whatever, but I'm still maintaining the same level of muscle mass I had in my competitive days. And I'm not as lean as I used to be, obviously, because I don't know if walking around in single-digit body fats is actually super healthy for you in the long term. Yeah. But I do know, I still rock a six-pack, still look good, still can hang and do well in the gym. And most importantly, I have no aches, no pains. I have no digestive issues. My sleep patterns, I sleep maybe 6 hours a night. I feel fully rested on that sort of stuff. So physically, as a person, like my functionality in a lot of areas and how I live in the world and how I function in the world and how I work as a business person with, multiple things going on, I'm actually a more functional person now than I was in my competitive career. And I largely attribute that to the things that I've been doing nutritionally wise, and that's using the Masszymes, and that's using my probiotics to make sure that I'm absorbing and utilizing every other thing that I take inside my body. And that's the key component. Fantastic. Now, one of my questions here is, say we take somebody like yourself who's had some, and myself too, who have had digestive issues in the past, and trying to keep those at bay and sustained and feeling good and feeling just all those things that you described right now. And then we take the average person who's maybe not experienced that quite yet, but what would be the recommendation? What would be the prescription for yourself and for the average person who's like, hey, I want to improve this. Maybe this is going to help me gain more muscle and utilize my proteins better. What does that look like?
Yeah, great question. And really, we start people out on, I have found across the board the best way for people to kind of step into optimizing their digestion. So our company's called Bioptimizers, and we're into biological optimization on a lot of levels, and it always starts with digestion.
Yeah.
And what we recommend people is you do 90 days of a relatively high dosage. And what that does is it changes your whole digestive, kind of like you did that 21-day fat cleanse you were talking about earlier, where you had a period of time where you got to clear out the system. Mm-hmm. And in that state, we recommend taking anywhere from 2 capsules to 5 capsules, depending on the size of the meal, every single meal, and then once or twice on an empty stomach. And why you would take it on an empty stomach, it can go in there and digest some of these undigested proteins that we talked about, or undigested food that might be sitting in your intestinal tract. Now, usually in that first 30 days, people are going to experience, they're going to the bathroom a lot more. They have a totally different relationship. We do advocate that you make sure that you increase your hydration during that time to kind of keep that going. By the second month, what happens is, you can start adjusting it or keep on that depending on how your body is. If you've had a lot of digestive issues, mm-hmm. then you definitely want to stay on that level. If you're feeling great and you want to adjust that dosage to 1 or 2 caps a thing, then you go ahead and do that. For people who are looking to build mm-hmm. muscle, as you were talking about, I recommend 4 caps every meal, especially in your high protein meals, and that makes you get and absorb and utilize more of that protein. Once you kind of hit that level of where you want to be, you can start playing with your dosage of enzymes or your dosages of protein. And so for me, I was able to go from 250 grams a day to just 85 grams a day because my digestion is so good now, especially compared to where it was. I mean, it couldn't really get much worse.
Wow, that's amazing. I have another question before I forget here, and I'm just going to play dumb for a minute. Treat me like a dummy. So what about when we hear about guys that say, hey, take them before you work out?
That's a great thing. It works. And I'll tell you why. Keep in mind that enzymes are responsible from everything to thinking to blinking. And when it comes to proteolytic responses or carbohydrate responses or fat responses, there are different enzymes that are responsible for that. So protease digests protein, okay? Amylase digests carbohydrates, lipase digests fats. Now, here's what we found. We have found that key metabolic processes can be altered by each one of these. So, for example, if your body uses a proteolytic enzyme to digest protein, it'll use a proteolytic enzyme to make your mood hormones. It'll make proteolytic enzymes to build your muscles. So the protease family will work in a series of metabolic processes. And same things for the amylase stuff. So, for example, we have diabetics that have noticed they cut their insulin when they use our product because we have amylase in it. We have people with skin disorders, like eczema and stuff, they notice their skin gets better because we have lipase inside the mast cymes that makes your fats convert better so they can heal their skin better. So the same thing happens before the workout. And what if they really want to boost it, and this has been proven by science, what you do is you take a protein drink, whatever your protein drink is, mix up a few capsules of the mast cymes inside of it, and let it pre-digest maybe 15, 20 minutes before you go, shake it up, go to the gym. When you get to the gym, sip on that, and what you have is pre-digested amino acids that go in, and it starts boosting recovery rate there. And my business partner and I put this to the test one time. We went to the gym, and we said we're going to do a 200-set workout. We're going to train the whole body. And we made these protein concoctions with the mast cymes in it, and we took another guy who was really a novice trainer. He was not he said, I want to do this. And I'm like, dude, I don't know if you can do this. And he did the same thing. He sipped that along with us. And all 3 of us and this we weren't just like coasting through these sets. We went hardcore, 3.5-hour workout, virtually nonstop other than sipping this thing. And we were taking, these exercises to failure. And we thought we were going to be dead. We thought we're going to die. Like we're going to be so sore when we wake up the next day. We had mild soreness, but we were totally fine. And we were absolutely in shock. And since that time, it's been one of the things that I've been using. I wish I had known that during my career, because it really allows you to train harder and more frequently. And I think that's a great thing when it comes to performance.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've never heard of, I'll be honest, I've never heard of actually putting them in your protein shake, and then letting it sit. Putting in the protein shake, sure, yeah, I've done that. Just if I don't want to, be sitting, taking all these different supplements before I work out or something. But I haven't had my protein pre-digested like that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, so I guess that's what I'm getting at is like, what are some ways that we can have, we can maximize the actual supplement too, right? As well. So, I mean, we've talked about dosage. We've talked about, a little bit of timing. Have we touched on like even before bed? Have you touched on that?
Yeah, particularly if you're people that notice if they're waking up with the brain fog. So if you wake up and you kind of have that kind of scratchy eyes and all that sort of stuff, and you're like, oh man, I got to get my coffee and stuff. What's going on there is that you have these chemical toxins inside the blood from the bacteria feeding on the protein from last night. So one of the things that we recommend is taking masszymes, and also if they want to take some of the probiotics, take that before bed. And what that does is it cleans up your blood. So when you wake up in the morning, you're fresh and you're ready. And that makes a huge difference for form and function, especially people that are, on that tight work day, where they got to get up early and hustle to work and, get to the gym at night and all that sort of stuff. It's awesome for that. And there's a lot of what I call regular people, whatever that is, that swear by it. They're not bodybuilders. They're not people who are, they work out a little bit or they're into fitness. And we even have a whole group of people that don't even work out. They're like senior citizens and stuff that swear by this stuff because they're like, man, I got my life back.
Yeah. Well, hey, digestion is key, right? So, I mean, everything, like you said, your doctor had told you that you're building your body from the outside in, not the inside out kind of deal, right? So I think it's really important for us to be knowing that and to be able to take things to the next level. You got to start looking at it that way, right? Because it all starts.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So awesome. I don't know if I have any more compelling questions. Do you have anything else that we can add here today?
Well, I think it's an important thing is when I started, researching and looking into this, I had tried before I had met Dr. O'Brien. I had heard about the enzyme thing and read about it, and I started taking products off the shelf and these type of things. And I was like, kind of I don't know if it works, whatever, that sort of thing. Yeah. But when I took his product, I saw a significant difference. I was like, okay, there's something really going on here. And as I dove into this and started doing research, and I went to Dr. Howell's Enzyme Nutrition and studied with Victorious Kavinskas and Gabriel Cousins and all these different kind of enzyme experts that were healing people of all these sort of diseases and stuff like that using enzymes. I was like, okay, what makes a high quality enzyme? What separates the two? How come there's a $10 bottle and a $120 bottle in the store? It's like, why is the range? It looks like it's got protease, amylase, and lipase. It seems same. So there's a few key factors that people want to recognize. Number one, you want a plant-based enzyme, number one. The reason why you want a plant-based enzyme is it works in a pH range from 2 to 12. Your pH range varies with different parts of the stomach. You want 2 to 12 in order for this to work. And an animal-based enzyme, like pancreatic enzymes, only works in a very narrow pH range in kind of the mid-range, maybe 6 to 8. And that's not significant enough to get all the benefits. Number two, you want a cultured enzyme. And a cultured enzyme takes anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks to produce. And what that is there's various fermentation processes, and they put them on special mediums. It's a very secretive process in order to get an enzyme that's anywhere from 100 to 1,000 times more effective than an enzyme that you would find inside your food. Very, very big difference. The next thing that people want to look at is they want to make sure that they have enough protease inside the product. But most manufacturers really go low on proteolytic enzymes, and the reason being is they're expensive to produce and expensive to make. And anything on, business being business, most companies operate on the principle of margin and how, they've got to make certain margin components. That's how they operate. And you want to get an enzyme that's built by someone who cares about themselves. And for me, I had to create an enzyme that worked for me. I had to make an enzyme, and it wasn't about making a commercially successful enzyme. It was about making an enzyme that solved my digestive issues and to get something that would be of use to people who are in this crazy sport that we've done. Yep. And so that's where the starting point was. The next thing is you want to make sure that let me qualify that for 1 second. if you look out there, the thing to look for is how many HUTs is the enzymatic activity level, or how much food it'll break down, or that sort of stuff. And so if you look out there, we're over 85,000 HUTs per serving. We do a comparison. Yeah, we show all these people. So what you get is you get more bang for your buck.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to diss like amylase or lipase. There's various reasons for other ones. We do have amylase, we do have lipase, but we do have a focus on the proteolytic enzymes. That's what brings the price up, obviously, but that's what brings the effectiveness up. You get what you pay for, and there's nothing more expensive than a product that doesn't work. The other thing is, that's just it. I mean, it doesn't matter if I spend $5, $10, $15. If the product doesn't work, it was a waste of money. I'd rather spend, a premium price for a premium product than a low price for a low product.
Exactly.
Because I waste all my money.
Well,
so that's the biggest components of it. The other thing is we've done something really special. We've taken a product that was extracted from Chinese medicine. They studied all the main ingredients of Chinese medicine. They isolated one compound, and from that compound, they were able to increase the absorption and utilization of amino acids inside the digestive tract. And so we've added that into the Mass Science formulation to really make it like there's nothing else out there as far as digesting, utilizing protein inside the body. And so that's the things that people want to look for. And I think we do a comparison chart on our site and all that sort of stuff, so people can actually see and go out there and compare. Yeah. And of course, we back everything up with a 60-day money back guarantee. People want it and say, hey, you know what? Go try it. If it doesn't work for you, send it back. We'll give you your money back, because I don't want our company to go be one of those companies that say, oh, it sounded good, but it didn't work. It's like, hey, we solved your problem, and if we didn't, give us your money back, because I don't want someone to walk away from this industry feeling that they got ripped off or taken. And I've had that feeling, and I think everybody has, and it's a horrible feeling, and it's a black mark on everybody in our company. There's great companies out there doing great things, and that's an important thing, and we like to think that we're one of those companies, and we stand by it.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And as far as testing it out, I'm going to be straight with you. I mean, several months ago, I actually bought your product too, right? Because I was like, okay, I want to try this out for myself before I can talk about this to anybody else. But I also want to see if it works for me, because I still, if my digestion goes off, if I, have too much of this or too much of that with protein or whatever, I start to notice it, And so I had to test this out for myself, and I really did have some very, very positive benefits. And especially my wife. I got to tell you, my wife, because she's always had digestive issues, and as soon as she takes anything out of her diet, like if she takes fruit out of her diet, it's like she's not going for days, and as soon as we started taking these together, she was like, hey, like I'm noticing this. And so it was worth it for us as well. So, I had to test it for myself. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things, and I think it was actually, was Tim Ferriss talked about this, and why he went to do a lot of his research and on various things with bodybuilders is because we're extreme by nature, and we subject ourselves to various amounts of tests on the high performance level to kind of see what works. And I think that's one of the great things about the mentality behind it. It's one of the negative things about as well. But it's like I equate it to race cars. You develop the body, you develop a race car, a Formula One. Now, no one today is going to drive down the track at 200 miles an hour and take turns at 5 and 6, 7 Gs or anything like that. However, from the technology that is learned on those tracks, it can be applied to everyday life. So a person doesn't have to be a bodybuilder. They don't have to be, strength athletes have to get the benefits. If they are, they're probably going to see more. But if there are some of those people, we have a large portion of our clients, believe it or not, are people who are senior citizens and cancer patients who are using this to make their lives better and feel better and to live better. And that's something that was completely unexpected and something we never intended at first. And that's just because of the power of the product.
Yeah, and that's amazing. So I think, on that, I think what it comes down to, whether you're trying to build muscle or you're trying to get some type of health benefit, whatever that is, at the end of the day, you have to make things easier for yourself, right? You can go train hard in the gym and you want to make it harder for yourself with more resistance and all that kind of stuff. But outside of the gym, you don't want to have those disadvantages that you try and give yourself in the gym. You want to say, how can I make things easier for myself? And if I can, make it easier for my muscles, my body, my mind, and everything to be fed, then that's gold, right? So so I'm totally about it. I really thank you for giving us this time today. This has been a lot of information and a lot of new things I even learned today as well. So I'm gonna try that tip with the pre-digested protein before I work out.
Yeah, try it out. I think you'll love it. And of course, for all your guys and stuff, if they choose to order, we do have the Digestive Vault, where we share videos where they can go through. If they have a particular digestive issue that they're suffering from, we've got a great video series with a naturopathic physician, Katrine Valinsky. She explains the process of digestion, how it works, how these products interact, and all that sort of stuff. So you get the absolute information in the comfort of your own home where you can read everything all about it. So it's one of the gifts to hand off to your group.
Fantastic. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Wade.
Hey, my pleasure.
Awesome. So I think we can close it off at that. So this is Matt Stirling of MattStirlingFitness.com and Wade Lightheart from Bioptimizers. Thank you so much, Wade. This has been great. I learned a lot, and so do my viewers. I'll catch up with you soon.